We are giving thanks today. We've survived. I have survived Thanksgiving. Barely. I am here. Artist Journal, November 25th, 2022. Berlin. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. And we are giving thanks today. Thank you, dear viewer, for supporting this channel and everything everybody has done. It's been a huge surprise, frankly. Not like massive, but pretty big. I figured if I did this every day, that it would eventually somehow, somewhere would kind of go somewhere, but I didn't expect, for it to go where it's gone. And it's not like it's gone that far, but it's, I'm quite pleased, obviously. We got 200 viewers, I think, on yesterday's episode, and I just think that's a room of 200 people, so yeah. So anyways, so again, show note, this show for the next 2 weeks is, I don't know how many, if any, will be out. We're going to do some Twitter spaces, 1 or 2, maybe 3. Again, I got to visit my family, who I haven't seen in 3 years. And I'm also going to London for a couple of days, and it's kind of a 2-monitor thing. Maybe I can do a 1-monitor, sneak in a thing or two. So just a heads up, make some art. And again, the older episodes for newer subscribers are evergreen. You can watch that stuff. I do look at certain artists I return to regularly, but you'll see other works by them. And I also am always sprinkling in new artists. So you will see, it's well worth it. If you're into this stuff, that's part of the reason this isn't a news channel. Okay, we sprinkle in some news bits because it helps our, we have to be engaged with the world here, and in this salon of sorts. But a lot of this content is, we can look at this work here by GloomTube, which we will right now. 10 years from now. Right? And a lot of the same issues that we'll be discussing here are going to be relevant 10 years from now. So also part of the reason this isn't a news program. So anyways, welcome back, everyone. And thank you again for everything. It is that time of year to give thanks. And here, GloomTube. Hey, thanks, Gloomerican Dreams. A nice kind of happy GloomTube. Some cool tattoos. A little American flag in the background. And yeah, not exactly actually sure exactly what's going on here. You got a smaller guy kind of holding up the elbows. The time is 23:56. The hour is late. Maybe it's almost like American political parties are joining hands or something like that. I feel like I don't understand what's going on in this piece. And there's some Christmas lights. So anyways, really cool piece. Only an edition of 3. And just sent out to, a few people here. So just kind of an interesting little thing. Maybe just sent it to family, for all we know. That could be a portrait. See, there's 3 people in here. That could be his family. It wouldn't shock me. And maybe that's why I kind of don't understand. That's my theory here. Big shout out to mech.txt and MemoCat. MemoCat owned this work, this pixel art sketchbook work of mine, this SH101 here. And there were a few owners here, and MemoCat sold it to mech.txt, who put in an offer of 8 Tezos. So thank you to both of you, and congratulations. And that just it's thrilling for me, for such a great pixel artist, to be buying some of my pixel art sketches and just other pixel art. So that's thrilling. So thank you. Thank you. It is the day of giving thanks. It is the weekend. So Rat Cloak, he's on Super Rare, so this is great. I was like, it must have already been in the pipeline. Maybe people did put out a feeler or a email or whatever. So anyways, point is, this is great. And look at the work that he introduced, that Rat Cloak introduced himself with. And let's read what he says, actually. Long road to fame and fortune, and now I'm an artist on Super Rare. Still hungry and still poor. Thank you, Xerox NFT and Chris Ostoich, for appreciating my work. So, and it's a pretty cool work. I looked at it 3 times, and there is a lot going on. Almost a Dali shadow here with the SR, but overall, it's really developing here. I don't even know what to say here. You have the multiple, like it's kind of got all his sort of tropes, like the multiple arms and then kind of like this stretched out, body figure. I mean, it's just a pretty awesome work. Almost like, and then we remember there's kind of a Francis Bacon experimentation that was going on. And now it's kind of like changed and developed and evolved. So anyways, that's going to be really fun to see how those works do, because I'm sure they'll do really well. And it's just going to be really fun. Again, going on different platforms and going on different blockchains, I find brings about different kinds of work. Like that pixel art sketchbook piece that I just showed, I'm not, I want to put that on Super Rare. Because it's just, you're not going to put sketches on Super Rare. Maybe some people do, but I'm not, Again, that's kind of where you put your big oil paintings, so to speak. But I was like, oh, I'm on Tezos. It costs nothing to mint here. It's kind of a cool, fun scene. There's a lot of pixel art stuff. Like here, I can put some pixel art sketchbooks, and it's fun. So it'll be fun to see how that kind of manifests itself. Also, Bazaya, so he has put out his Genesis piece on Super Rare, and it was actually kind of a funny right up here. GM Amigos, very happy to announce my first drop on Super Rare. Art dealers, reserve price 0.5 ETH. The gang takes over Miami. Appreciate your support. So I guess a reference to Art Basel, Miami Beach. Kind of a fun concept. I could see us returning to that concept in a couple of years and being like, yeah, this is, remember back then. And it actually may have come true. So anyways, so here it is. And, kind of a Basquiat figure and kind of, this looks like a guy off Tezos. Maybe this is Bazaya. It almost looks like Strange Thing, doesn't it? Maybe. Like this is, the Nike and everything. So a lot of speculation today. There's Dennis Rodman in the back. And I think this is also a Bazaya work here of Basquiat. So Basquiat is holding a Basquiat by Bazaya. And this almost looks like the Myth Banana guy, but I'm just totally speculating here. So, and there's Miami Beach. So, and what else is fun? So his reserve has been met, so they call me met the reserve price of half an ETH. So this is really cool. All right. So, and really nice write-up too, that he did here. I like even how he kind of signed it here. Really cool. Super Rare Genesis. Very cool. So congratulations on getting a bid there. Let's see what it goes for. We'll be retweeting that out. This was funny too. And so Popple was mentioning that he's going to print out some of the Pixelankton series. And that just brought up an interesting point. I'm going to put some of the Pixelankton on the wall. And after that, screen printing. So there was something I wanted to bring up there because it's actually a really interesting issue. Printing, like with inkjet, because there's, just kind of fun thoughts that were crossing my mind. So we're talking about these pieces here and how great they all look together. And one way of doing it, I think there's two ways you could do it. You could either just print it out inkjet, and then you'd get the color, this exact color that you'd want, and you just have the full inkjet work. Another way is to use colored paper, which you wouldn't get your exact color, but it could be kind of fun, so that kind of I would be like, if you want like a quick and easy way to do it, I'd go to the art supply store and get some colored paper. So just kind of a fun thought. And at least for these four, this would be trickier, the special edition. But these four here would go really well. And another thing on printing, which is kind of interesting because we talk shop here on this video podcast, I guess we'd call it. And when you are dealing with inkjet, because I have dealt with it a little bit, and say like I think it's the Canon 1000. It's a really good printer. It's got like 13 inks. And it's like really big. Okay, like I'm tempted to show it to you, but it's going to screw up my setup. It's just over there. But if I print it here, the way you can kind of tell how good a printer, like one of the ways you can tell how good a printer is if I print something here, the black will be quite dark. This is a pretty professional printer. But if I take it down there to BBK at Bethanian in Berlin, where they have huge printers, huge Epson printers, the blacks will be much darker. Okay, and so that is a way so that tells me if I want to go super pro on printing something out, then I'll go to Bethanian, I'll make an appointment there, and then I'll use their printers there. I'll pay the extra, maybe you bring your own paper, and paper matters too. Okay, so if you were to do this, say on a white piece of paper and do the full, get your exact color, then you'd also be looking at papers, which is a whole other issue. And as we discussed in an earlier episode, just in passing, the Hanamulla photo rag paper is a really good paper. So if you're just looking for something, and then there's the scale, right? And then how big is your printer? So physical is very interesting. There's a lot to take into account. So, and it's just something you got to feel your way through, but there's just some preliminary fun thoughts for you. So Charles AI, this AI conversation we're having, I almost want to take another swig of coffee here. This AI conversation just continues to be incredibly interesting. So Charles AI comes out and says, I feel completely rugged by this Midjourney update. Seriously, WTF? And when you looked in, and there was a couple of deleted tweets. Here it is. Okay. The workflow I was using yesterday doesn't work anymore and now got to start over from scratch. So isn't this interesting? And there was another tweet here that I highlighted. Even the composition is worse, right? So I think what this tells us, the one thing, one of probably many things we can deduce from this, but one thing we can say that's fairly simple is this art form is very reliant on the technology itself. And that's different from, say, if I'm drawing, if there's a new kind of pencil and it's slightly different, it's not going to, materials are very important, as we've discussed, very important. But it's not as reliant, say, if you're drawing with a hand, than maybe on, oh no, Stable Diffusion or Midjourney. They both have updates. And yeah, that could cause you some problems. And that's what we're seeing here. So what we can deduce is this AI art is incredibly reliant, to state the obvious, on technology. And it kind of feeds into this thing that I keep saying on how the artists are somewhat the tools of the technology. That the technology is, I think this adds more evidence, feel free to disagree, but I think this adds more evidence to this idea that the technology itself is dictating certain outcomes. And sure, you put in the variables into the machine, but that machine makes things a certain way, right? To state the obvious, but that's kind of what we're in the business of doing here, of trying to, because again, we're not working with numbers here. We are in a qualitative, this isn't quantitative, this is a qualitative discussion. So this is why I go incredibly slow and state the obvious things that we can kind of say with some kind of certainty, right? Because we basically don't know anything, right? It's kind of at the end of the day. So what we can know, we have to say with very, move in very slow steps, and here's one, clearly this art form is very reliant on the technology, more so than traditional tools. However, Charles AI is still doing wonderful, but you kind of see here, so he got 1.8 ETH for that really cool shooting star work that we looked at yesterday. I think it was yesterday. But you see what's kind of on the line here, because all of a sudden, I was reading, it's worth finding that thread and reading through the comments, because what you'll see is other people are like, I'm so glad I finished my series on V2 or whatever it was, right? And thank God I got that all done. And we saw this with Strange Thing yesterday. I think it was yesterday, where he's saying, trying to get the oil painting, I'm almost there, so pretty interesting. I don't know if you can use older versions of Midjourney, and I'm assuming you can't. So pretty interesting. And I have a theory, that, and I don't know if it's true, but just an idea of what might be happening, There is a bit of concern, and I brought this up in passing, of that these AI tools are using stuff like Getty Images and iStock and all these kind of copyrighted images for the source. And there has been some kind of debate on, well, is that okay? And maybe they're starting to remove, like maybe they just removed Getty Images, for example, and said, well, look, we have enough just from the internet. If Getty's starting to red flag us a little bit, maybe we just kind of and maybe you get worse compositions as a result. Just a total, more speculation. This is an episode of speculation. So I thought this was an opportunity, since we're kind of deep in this AI talk again, to bring up Runetoon's comment here. And also Luis Lantigua from the other day. Fair to say AI is developing unique styles. I think I know what you are saying about the uniqueness of certain AI. I would love to hear more from you about AI artists and their unique directions. So we did kind of address this, which was finding your thing with AI and how important that is. Say with Charles AI, it is indoor and outdoor simultaneously, and kind of Delta Sauce has a similar sort of idea, I would argue, but not exactly. Not exactly. They're more just interiors, generally speaking. Runetoon goes more kind of right at what we're talking about here right now, which is, it seems like the main point of people's argument against AI is that it allows people to bypass craft, right? So this kind of relates directly to what we're talking about here. If we assume for the sake of argument here that AI tools allow one to bypass craft, and I know that this isn't necessarily true, then what are we left with? Is it an art practice in which the ideas and the content are the criteria by which we qualify work as good or bad? I think that's part of it. Yeah, it's interesting because there is an aesthetic choice that's being made along the way, but I think we could actually say sure, because it is just word prompts. So these are just ideas. What does taste and sensibility have to do with AI art if craft is not an obstacle? I would actually say everything, because what you're doing is, I'd say, it's sort of like that great quote in the post-World Wide Web age, nationality means nothing and taste everything. It's kind of like taste is everything, is actually what I think we could argue here. Because if it's just prompts, it's all just what looks good, what works, what makes sense, what's exciting, what makes a great artwork. You could argue it's 100% taste. With some, or 90% taste and 10%, prompts, or 50-50, however you want to put it. But as far as taste, I'd say it's everything in some respects. Because if the output of AI work is highly crafted images, then you are right, you are facing a tremendous amount of competition. So what becomes the criteria for quality work? So again, I'd say the quality, and I'm just speculating off the top of my head, but I would say the quality of the ideas, how good they are, and also the aesthetic decisions, the taste. I would say it is the taste and the originality and the overall aesthetic effect. So, and it's interesting, I think actually using the AI tools, what you find is it's not as easy as it looks. And I think but at the same time, I think anybody could do it. If they just dedicate, an hour a day to it, in a couple of weeks, you're really going to be getting somewhere, is my sense of it. So, and all you need is taste and ideas. That is how I would respond to that. So the debate continues. Now, here we go. KHC, Kurt Hustle Collective, on Foundation, and with a awesome work here. Let me see if I can get their music is so good. Calm down. Yeah, I love it. 1-900-1997-900. So super duper. These are my favorite works that come from Kurt Hustle Collective, which are the commercials. And that house track sounds like a professional. It sounds like really well-produced house. Again, remember with that comment we got yesterday from KHC about just like all the work they put into it. It's easy not to notice this stuff. So with Kurt Hustle Collective, again, they're kind of one of these artists, or one of these, they make art that when you look up close, it really, it shows itself to be very good. It has depth, I guess is what I'm trying to say here on this post-Thanksgiving Day party morning. So we have another one, Leave Your Life for a Better One Today, Webo 9. So it's just totally awesome. And there's another one on Foundation. And so the first one, just so you know, this one has no sound. This one is Make an Offer. So, and it was minted 6 hours ago. So just really fresh here. Again, one of my favorite artists in the entire NFT space. Like, I love these guys and the humor and everything. Coin King, Flap Those Funds. So this one you can buy for basically 0.1997 ETH, 0.2 ETH. So and you can get a one of one Kurt Hustle Collective on Ethereum. So they have made the jump over to Ethereum as well. Multi-chain here. Are your coins crashing? Why not call Coin King right now and learn how to flap those funds today? Call now. So just always classic. I'm loving seeing these commercials back. Because I don't know if they ever took a break, but I just love them. What can I say? Continuing on, Purple Drank, The Oath of Mehmedi. Now, this is a new work in his, I guess it's part of the Drank DAO, but kind of in his Pepe series. And this looks like a famous woodcut. Like, I feel like I can recognize, it almost looks like these Roman, I don't know if I'd call them senators. So I don't know the exact reference, but it's familiar to me. And you see, of course, the classic Roman arches. So anyways, just a really cool, beautiful work here. And you see the Crocs over here, and the modern shoes mixed with the togas. So that is pretty cool. I like the color a lot too. And frankly, weird stuff like these margins can really do a lot. I like the margin. It really makes it feel like it would make a nice print. Speaking of printing, that would, like, you do that on a professional printer on really nice paper. Maybe you get the torn paper, like all that stuff. Like if you see Warhols, the next time you see a Warhol on paper, he'll often use the torn paper. And so all these little details that you'd never think of all add up to make just beautiful physical works. So anyways, new work from Purple Drank. Great to see. And a new work from Paper Crane, again, who collaborates sometimes with Louis Osborne and who's really been doing a lot of interesting things, that FX Hash series and everything. I have a mental block myself here. That is the name of the work. And yeah, we are getting through this program here. Paper Crane, buy for 130. Look at this. So yeah, so let me the offers, holy. So this guy is really making progress here, Paper Crane. 81 to 100 Tezos is what people are bidding. So it's back to that idea, he collaborated with Louis Osborne, puts out a couple of nice FX Hash or an un-FX Hash work, and look at him go. It just seems to be all working really nicely. Speaking of working really nicely in Louis Osborne, this went for 600 Tezos, this work here that we were featuring yesterday. That's a pretty nice price. Was it a bidding war? It might have been. I think it was. So unfortunately, I don't have actually, maybe if we click on, we can actually get the time series here just to see, because it is quite interesting. Here we go. This is how we can see. Yeah. Okay, so it sold at 8:35 Berlin time, and the bids started coming in at 5:22, then at 7, 7:11, 7:17. So it was a bidding war all the way from basically 230 up to 600. And yeah, you see it's Scooney and Ellie Trader. We're duking it out. It went to Scooney and off to the vault it goes. So pretty fun to watch that, actually, or to be able to see that. Work in progress from Louis Osborne. And was there a new work here? Let's just quickly take a look. I thought I saw, so there's the work. Wow. So interesting. you know, I get the sense that Louis Osborne is getting more ambitious with his success, and we're kind of discussing this yesterday with MemoCat and this kind of feedback loop that happens between success in the marketplace and basically your ambition and your just, this is a great feedback loop. And this is why it's so great, basically what we have going on in NFTs, because a lot of people are selling work that would normally just frankly not even have the time to deal with galleries or just not be in the wrong geographic location. Here they can get in the marketplace. And look at this, tunnel vision. Again, this is kind of started out as interesting graphic design art, and it's just keeps getting more and more evolved. And it's pretty impressive, okay, what's going on with Louis Osborne. So we continue to track him. Kristen Roos, who again uses, I think he uses retro software, I think on the Amiga, but I'm not positive. So look at this beautiful work here, beautiful pixel art work. The colors are gorgeous. And someone has already, it's a one of one, someone is offering 500. It's not being taken yet. So raster bar vortex, this work speaks to the history of early personal computers and video computer systems, incorporating and combining the techniques associated with this history. Raster bars and palette color cycling. Kristen's work is a living documentary of the techniques associated with this history. Interesting. Another interesting pixel, I don't know if we'd call Françoise Gamma a pixel artist, but does a lot of pixel work. Very nice piece here. A bust in 360-degree rotation with what it's tempting to look like some kind of pixelation filter over top. Very nice. A new work from Ellie Lowe, noted trash artist on this program. I think Polly Jojo introduced me to Ellie Lowe's work. So, totally weird artist, right? In a good way. But where is this coming from, right? But it's so well done, I would argue, well produced. I almost want to say that, yeah, I wish I could have got this at the mint price. How much? So Ellie Lowe is raising the mint price a little bit to a Tezos 50. Interestingly, this, it's interesting. When I first saw this work by Dan Control, I kind of was I just kind of passed it by. I was like, okay, interesting, a spider. But the more I look at it, the more I like it in the color, just everything about it. I find it to be a very interesting work that really rewards multiple views here. So very interesting, just use of color and everything. At a certain point, I thought, oh, is this is he putting different layers on top of each other to get the color? But I don't think so. But to me, this is almost like a deceptive work in that I think it's more complicated than it might seem. Let's just put it that way. So beautiful, buy for 2 Tezos, edition of 20. Here's an artist I've never seen before, I don't think, Datura, with a pretty wild kind of pixel art piece here. So just kind of glitchy landscape, I guess. Kind of looks like a sea. Crazy colors, a panorama, Reventador, relief elevation, and fumarolic activity. So kind of mysterious. This looks like it sold out, all for 2. And edition of 20, Françoise Gamma picked up one. Islay picked up one. So yeah, Datura. And here's some of Datura's other work, Natural Pixels. So another kind of Twitter discovery here. So just interesting, kind of glitchy pixel art, I think we could call that. Animated abstract pixel art. A little bit of everything here. Mech.txt, I thought this was just a beautiful color study here. More interesting color contrasts from mech.txt. And so this is using 3 colors, right? It's this kind of bluish purple, this grayish blue, and this, I guess you'd call that like a skin color. Peach? I don't know. Light beige? Yeah. So, and this is by Fabrique 2K, who we just kind of discovered the other day, who from this work that Mikey de la Creme picked up and that kind of retweeted, so that kind of got on my radar. And so this is an interesting work here, quite nice, 2K World. Interesting colors, right? Just kind of, I guess, kind of like a pinkish and a light blue. Almost what I'd be tempted to call that vaporwave kind of color palette, but not quite. Maybe there's a little bit more green in there. Interesting. And continuing on, just like a single here. This is a single, 7 minutes and 55 second song. And this is by Ed Marola. And I'm pretty sure Ed does the music here. So pretty cool, right? I mean, just like, what's not to like here? And there's that player, don't forget, which we'll bring back at another point. There is a Tezos music player. So you can kind of see where this could go. And this is an edition of 1 for $50, still available, minted a couple of days ago. So you know what else I noticed about this on the art front is, on the visual art front, is the color scheme. Ed Marola has kind of expanded a little bit past the kind of these purples and pinks, adding some blue and orange, orangey browns, almost fall colors there. Sweet and Sour, Acerola Dream. Continuing on, some interesting paintings I've sort of seen on the periphery here from Yuri J. And they're kind of concept works, Paintings Wishes, Tribute to These Paintings Should series by Jonathan Monk, who I feel is probably a contemporary artist, concept artist, I'm guessing. I mean, they kind of remind me a little bit actually of John Baldessari type of statements here. You can see it here, The Unstoppable Dance of a Half-Awakened Volcano. This painting would love to be in the secret gallery along 25 Works of Santiago. So again, kind of seems like concept art a little bit along the lines of John Baldessari, I will not make another boring artwork and that sort of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me just show you. I think, so just kind of, again, has this kind of contemporary art feeling. Put Baldessari, boring. Yeah, here it is. I will not make any more boring art. This is actually a pretty famous concept piece. You see it's at MoMA here. And he just kind of wrote this over and over. It starts to get pretty arty at that point. And so, yeah, I mean, so I like, my favorite works by Baldessari are often where he's mixing mediums. So he's doing inkjet and then he puts acrylic paint on top. Let me show you. Baldessari, I think, is emojis. Let's see if we can find those. Those are some of the most spectacular works of art, actually. When you see them in person, it might not look special here. Let's see if we can actually, yeah, like the dock. But if you see this in person, what is going on here? There's inkjet, okay, and this is an emoji that has been expanded, so they're fairly large. There's one at the Stadel that I've seen in person. What you can't see here, and maybe we can, how big is this file? Probably what you can't see here. What he does, if I remember right, he puts white acrylic brush paint over top here. And it creates this just very luxurious physical object, right? Just this kind of like, fetishistically beautiful, work of art. So you don't really see it here, but keep your eyes out for this. If you're ever in a gallery, in a museum, and you see some Baldessaris, and then think of it in the context of traveling through the mediums, okay? Which again, you see with Richard Prince, and you see here with Baldessari too. I mean, Baldessari passed away a couple of years ago now, I think, a couple of years ago. But you see like very contemporary artists. To me, this is basically the main conversation. So back to Yuri J. This painting, so it's got a bit of a Baldessari feel to it, concept work, so interesting. And did this sell? No. So available for $60. And here's another one, Young Werther, where he seems to be playing off the isolationist. This painting would love to be opposite or isolated from the isolationist. So a little bit of humor there, a little bit of concept, and it looks like isolationist work there. And continuing on, a work by Working Class. This is digital. I wasn't sure at first, but this is in fact a digital work, so pretty wild piece here. And this is, of course, by the artist that did that Michael Jackson work with that very kind of surreal work. So interesting, and has been putting out some physical works and just all sorts of stuff going on here. The nail through the hand, and got some upside down crucifixions. So, and then, I mean, this almost looks like Alien, where the aliens are coming out. So anyway, some come with me working class. And how did this do? I think it went to NSF World exactly for 80, 1 of 1. So well done on congratulations to both Working Class and NSF World. A new one by Kappa Sage. So Kappa has a new one, and, you know, interesting, right? Like, kind of almost looks like a hell-like landscape. Some, what looks like, I should know, this looks like some sort of Arab script over here. And kind of a mysterious painting, isn't it? This is a episode of Mysterious Works in a lot of ways, not by design. And interesting, the colors, you know, of the frame, just weird, unusual colors. You got the yellow guns, for example. Like, it's some, so very mysterious work. There's no eyes and no mouth here. It almost looks like unfinished, but it's on purpose, right? So very interesting, buy for 6. Very interesting experimentation. Xander Price, Tezos Defense Militia. So interesting. So we got a boxer. This guy, I feel like, is another reference that I should know but don't, with the Motorhead tattoo. That looks like Xander Price. Not sure who this is. This almost looks like Zelensky or something. Not sure who this is, though. And with a gun. So anyways, the Tezos Defense Militia. In Bake We Trust, and that's a reference to Tezos Bakers. So if you stake your Tezos, Tezos Defense Militia, buy for, so it's only 1.23 Tezos, edition of 999. And off to AI we go. So there's some sort of thing going on here. This MAIF mashup collection. This is from Other Faces. Managed to snag 2 works of my favorite AI artists in that kind of mashup thing that's going on from MAIF, which is a AI collective, I believe. Thanks, Redrum and D His Science, Art, and Scandal, and Din Burns. So let's look at the works. So it looks like they're kind of combining prompts. I guess, right? I guess you get the work and then you add your prompts. I don't know what they're doing. Like, how does that work when you collaborate in AI? Like, is that what you do? Or do you upload the work and then you add stuff? I don't know how that works. So interesting. I'd love to know how that works. So here's another. So Charles AI retweeted this work by Mr. Shapeless. So here's a new AI artist for me, who's very, I thought, pretty interesting. Again, we see certain qualities here that we associate with AI, like these spheres, and just even the matte quality. It looks like AI art. Like, I'd say it's instantly recognizable as such, which is kind of interesting in itself. And here are more works by Mr. Shapeless. So nice image of a guy in a white suit. Gotta love those white suits. It's almost surrealist. In Ballard, several of Ballard's novels, there'll be guys in white suits. It's classic. Anyway, I digress, and here's another very nice piece. So this is Mr. Shapeless, Tranquility Base on Foundation, Silent Land of Subconsciousness and Its Inhabitants. Interesting titles too, hey? The Traveler, the Creator, the Mediator, the Loner. So these are being bid on right now. So you almost wonder if Charles AI's retweet actually got everything going for this guy, or maybe they were just put up and bid on right away. So interesting, more AI art, and this is Mr. Shapeless's object page. So again, back to this idea that different blockchains bring about different kinds of work and even different platforms, and we see that here. Right? So very interesting, and just a physical work that I thought was kind of impressive. Has a bit of a Picasso feel to it, doesn't it? Nice work, nice line work. Like, again, and with physical, you don't get to redo these lines. So when you have enough nice lines like this, it's a nice piece. And finally, a work by Nugget Brain, who I've shown here once before. This is from Instagram, so let's see if I can make it bigger. Unfortunately, they kind of have a lame viewer. But here it is, a baggage carousel. Brilliant, brilliant painting. As this guy says, I'm consistently in love with your work. Yeah, like, so this is oil on canvas. Really, 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 really cool. Big fan of Nugget Brain on Instagram. And that, my friends, is your show. I will see you soon. Until next time, have a great Thanksgiving Day weekend and take care.